Hare Krishna. I thank all of you for watching this Weekend Wisdom series on Bhagavad Gita. We are continuing our discussion on chapter 6, Dhyan Yoga. And today we will cover Shloka 33 to 36. And 33 and 34 being the problem area as discussed by Arjuna. And 35 and 36 is a solution area as suggested by Krishna to Arjuna. Now, in Shloka 33, Arjuna said, O Madhusudana, the system of yoga which you have summarized appears impractical and unendurable to me, for the mind is restless and unsteady. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjalashalakaya Chakshur Militam Mena Tasme Shri Gurave Namah. So Arjuna, before expressing his concern regarding the mind, the situation of the mind, he is telling that, O Madhusudana, the system of yoga. If you look at the previous shlokas that we discussed, there Krishna is talking about the yoga system. He is talking about the need of practicing yoga. And he is telling to Arjuna to practice the yoga system so that he can ultimately achieve the desired aim of life, that is to love Krishna. And then now Arjuna is setting the background. He is telling that yoga system that you are talking about, Krishna, it is not easy for me to follow, and because of the troublesome nature of the mind. And in Shloka 34, he is talking about the nature of the mind. And there he has used a very specific word for Krishna as Madhusudana. Since he is a killer of the demon Madhu, he wants that Lord Krishna, if he can kill the demons like Madhu demon, then he can also help Arjuna in controlling the mind. And if he can help Arjuna in controlling the mind, then only he is in a position to follow the yoga system as prescribed by Krishna. The situation of this world is not very comfortable, and because of this uncomfortable situation, our mind keeps on planning, and we always look for a comfortable situation. And because of this, our mind is having two big problems as referred by Arjuna here in Shloka 34. He says, Chanchalam hi mana Krishna, pramarthi balvad tridam, tasyaham nigraha manya, vayuriva sudushkaram. The mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate and very strong. O Krishna, to subdue it, I think, is more difficult than controlling the wind. Okay, so there two words are very important. One, Arjuna has mentioned that the mind is chanchala. Chanchala means flickering. We know that if you are sitting today at one place, within a second, our mind can wander from one country to another country. Within a second, we can start thinking about another country, our plans for the day, where we want to go next for our vacations, or what we really want to do in the party, or what we have to do in our office today. Likewise, we can do a lot of planning at the level of our mind. Because the mind is flickering, it keeps on shuffling from one place to another, jumping. It's like a monkey jumping from one tree to another. And the second thing that Arjuna has mentioned, that it is pramarthi. Pramarthi means that our mind is, by nature, it is pramarthi, agitating. It becomes agitated as soon as we see any sense object, or we become excited about the material enjoyment of this world, or anything that we are aspiring for in life, then we become passionate. Some passion is okay, but at times we become over passionate to achieve it or to enjoy it. And this is the nature of mind, and this is a problem. And it can be compared, here Arjuna is telling that it is even more difficult than controlling the wind. So he's telling that he can control the wind, but he cannot control the mind. And it's very difficult. Likewise, like Arjuna, he is just one example to teach us something. There are many people in society who cannot control their mind, and because of this uncontrollable nature of the mind, they are in anxiety all the time. They are not focused, they are not fixed to what they really want to achieve in their life. So it can be compared with an example. So if there is a hurricane, if someone tries to stop the hurricane, it is impossible for a person to stop the hurricane because of the nature. It comes like a very, it has a very strong power, and it will simply carry the person along with, because the hurricane has a very strong power. Likewise, our mind is very flickering, and no one can easily control it. And this is this is a problem that has been expressed by Arjuna. And people also tell that, okay, you want us to practice devotion, you want us to chant the holy names of the God, but our mind is not fixed. When we start chanting, we start thinking about all things of this world, especially at the time of chanting. So what we should do? Okay, so this is the problem statement 33 and 34. Now we are coming to the solution part. In 35, the most important thing that Krishna is telling Arjuna, he is telling Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, Asanshaya Mahabaho Mano Duni Graham Chalam Abhyasena tu Kaunteya Vairagyena cha Grahayate. So the very first thing, that Krishna's acceptance of Arjuna's words, and he admitted that yes, Mahabaho, the specific name that he has given to Arjuna. He's telling that, no doubt Arjuna, it is very difficult to control the mind. And he has used the word Mahabaho. Mahabaho means a mighty arm soldier. So he's telling Arjuna, okay, you have a lot of physical strength, physical power, but still you cannot control the mind. Or we may have external capabilities, we may have good physics, we may have good beauty, we may even have good memory, but it has nothing to do with the ability to control the mind. So first of all, Krishna accepted this problem, and then he is going to the solution. He's telling Asanshaya, there is no doubt about it. Mahabaho. Mahabaho, he is referring to Arjuna. Mano Duni Graham Chalam. Mind is very difficult to curb. It is very difficult to curb the restless mind. But there are two things that he is telling. The first thing, he is telling that Abhyasena. Abhyasena means practice. And the second word that he has used is Vairagyena. Vairagyena means detachment. Practice means we have to engage ourselves in something. Now, most of us are engaged within this world. Now, the problem is that the situation of this material world is not conducive. And since we are simply engrossed within this material world, then definitely it will ultimately distract our mind, it will ultimately disturb our mind. So some engagement is necessary, but where the engagement should be, that's the question. So Krishna says that we have to engage in some regular practice, some regular activity, that constantly helps us to remember about Him. So that practice is important, but not practicing something of this world, something that helps in taking our mind away from the wanderings within this world. Because our mind otherwise will keep on planning and thinking of what we have to do in this world. And we have to take it away from the thoughts of this world to bring it under our control. So some practice makes man perfect. Practice and practice. And sooner or later, if you will be on the right path of practice, it is guaranteed that you will be having a controlled mind. So first stress of Krishna, or first advice of Krishna to Arjuna is to please control mind by the practice. So mantra meditation is one technique of practice. Some yoga practices are there that one can follow to control mind. And then third is basically uh, hearing is one of the process to control mind, because when we hear constantly, then our mind is getting away from the thoughts of this world. The more our mind gets away from the thoughts of this world, the more we have the capacity to have a control over our mind. The second thing is vairagya. The second thing that Krishna is telling Arjuna is on vairagya. Vairagya means detachment from the activities not devoted to the Lord. Okay, fine, then what we should do? So we do all those duties, we do perform all those activities as a matter of duty, but we do not get completely attached to those duties. We perform them as a matter of duty. That's it. So detachment from matter and engagement of the mind in the spirit is a need of our. And how spirituality helps in practical terms. People often ask, okay, fine, you are giving advice. What is the practical advice? So the spirituality, if we practice the process given in our Vedic literatures, then it helps us to go within. It helps us to think through on what we do in life. The more we go within ourselves, the more it helps us to increase our focus and attention to whatever we really want to pursue in our life. Because we are contemplating, a constant contemplation on a specific object helps us to get rid of the unwanted thoughts, and it helps in uh, you know pulling our mind back under our control. So some constant practice of spirituality, like we chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Now we are constantly focusing on the sound vibration, and this sound vibration helps us to come in contact with God. And as soon as we come in contact with God, then what is the outcome? The outcome is that we give a control of our mind to God. And once the control of our mind is being given to the God, then He basically drives our mind. And then He engages our mind in things which are desirable for us, which are relevant for us. Because then He takes the charge. And it is best to give the charge to a personality like God, because He is the best person to decide what is best for us. So this is one of the key learning of spirituality that one must imbibe to. If one is practicing spirituality, and if one is not coming to the point of giving the charge of mind to God, then something is missing. Because through our own independent efforts, our own self endeavors, we will not be able to have a control of our mind. So we have to give a charge of this mind to God. Different people practice different kind of yoga practices, and if one is trying to practice yoga while engaging in material enjoyment, then it is like trying to ignite the fire while putting a water on the fire. So we are trying to ignite the fire, and in parallel we are putting a water on it. Then fire will not be ignited because we are putting a water. So similarly, if we are practicing yoga system, we are trying to control the mind, but in parallel we are trying to engross ourselves in the material enjoyment. It will not work. Both things will not work together. And Srila Prabhupada says a very interesting thing in his purport. He says that yoga practice without having a control over mind, or without yoga practice without mental control, is simply a wastage of time. Shram ev hi kevalam. We should be careful. It should not happen that we spend our entire life in something and then the result is nowhere. We need to be careful, and we need to make a right decision so that we do not get stuck. So both things must go on. Some practice like focusing on the chanting of the holy names of God, and some detachment. And detachment comes by accepting some vows, by following some rules and regulations, by adopting some principles in life. Okay, this is what I'm gonna do, this is what I will not do in my life. Some do's and don'ts are important to follow. So if someone is suffering from any disease, and if he visits the doctor and then doctor prescribes the medicine, and along with the medicine doctor tells that this there's something that you have to eat, there's something that you cannot eat. And if we just take medicine and if we do not follow the do's and don'ts along with the taking of the medicine, then the medicine will not have effect. So likewise, if we follow the yoga practice, and if that yoga practice, if we do not follow the do's and don'ts along with that yoga practice, the yoga practice will not be effective. And the last point in Shloka 36, Krishna is telling to Arjuna that for one whose mind is unbridled, self-realization is difficult task. So whose mind is uncontrolled, for him self-realization is impossible. It will not work really. But he whose mind is controlled and who strives by appropriate means. Now he's telling, mind is controlled, and in parallel he is striving for the self-realization through appropriate means, is assured of success. So he's giving the formula for success. That is my opinion. Now you see again, Krishna, he is very sweet Lord. Why he is sweet? Because he is not forcing his opinion. And once our mind is controlled through suitable practice, then our mind will be calm, composed, peaceful, and contented. And once our mind is having all these things in the plate, calm, peaceful, composed, and contented, then we'll be able to think better. Our action will be more effective. We will be able to deliver better. Alright, so with this note, I thank all of you again for watching this series on Bhagavad Gita. We'll continue our discussion. So remember, two thumb rule of today's talk: practice and detachment. Abhyasena and Vairagyena. These are two things, no hard and fast rule. Just follow these two things and you will have your mind under your control. And the best control of mind is when we give charge of our mind to God.